Block Gemara. Today's the fifth day of Hanukkah, Monday, and we are up to Daf Yud Gimel. Okay, actually, we're up to a few days on the bottom of the page. We're continuing to talk about leap months and leap years. In finality, we have 7 leap years. Today, we just make an order calculation. You have 7 leap years every 19 years. We have year 3, 6, 8, 11, 14, 17, 19. But in those days, obviously, they had to calculate, as we learned in Gemara previously. They worked out every time how long whether they should make a leap year or they should make a leap year. We said that only the month of Adar can be made a leap year. So we spoke about kufa seasons. There are 4 kufas in the year. Roughly, each one is 91 and a quarter. Not exactly, because we followed today the Gregorian calendar, which is a little bit more. But regardless, the Shmuel, who was an expert an astronomer, and I think we learned in Traces and Tinus, he learned it all while he was in the bathroom, so he didn't want to think about Torah. But he said that he's an expert in astronomy, just like the back streets of Nehardoi. And so the Gemara says on the bottom of the page, Kufa, the 4 seasons, that's when the sun, every 91 and a quarter days, turns directions, either from north to south or from south to north, or across the equator, or the opposite side of the equator. 4 different seasons. So we know, just a quick introduction, that Sukkot is called Chag HaOsif, the time of gathering, and if the time of gathering has to be in the Kufa of Tishrei, going into fall, and the question is only what part of Sukkot has to be included in the new season. Does it have to be the entire Sukkot, which we'll see later in Gemara is one opinion, the Acherim, according to one view, or is it just a Chalamoid, the time when you could physically do the gathering? And if it's Chalamoid, does the entire Chalamoid have to be included in the new season? Or do we say that as long as one day of Chalamoid is included in the season, it is good enough? And Pesach as well has to be in the Chag HaAviv, has to be in the springtime. So we will see. Another thing is the first day of the season, is that considered Yom Kufa? Is that considered part of the old season or part of the new season? Which down in some is a machlekes as well. So let's go through the Gemara quickly. It says the Gemara on the bottom of the page, Yud Beis on the bottom of the page. Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Shmuel. So this is Shmuel. He came along and said, "Eima abri nes hashana. We will not make a leap year. Elim ken unless hoisa kufa chaseira ruba shel chedesh." If the new season, the fall, is missing most of Tishrei, then it is that means that most of Tishrei is part of the summer. Then we have a problem, and we have to make a leap year. The when the majority of Tishrei, Shisha Asayim Divrei Yehuda. If 16 days of Tishrei are part of the summer, which means that the first day of Chalamoid is still part of the summer, and the 17th day starts in the season, then we have to make a leap year because we need the entire Chalamoid to be in the fall season. That's the view of Rabbi Yehuda, and obviously also holds that the first day of the Kufa is part of the new season. So if the fall falls out, the Kufa fall, Kufa's Tishrei falls out on the first day of Chalamoid, it's all right because that's the new season. However, Rabbi Yetzi disagrees. He says we need the entire Chalamoid. He says we need the entire. If 21 days of Tishrei fall out in the summer, it's a problem because none of the days of Chalamoid are included in the fall. But if Kufa's Tishrei falls out on the last day of Chalamoid, and since the Kufa is the first day of the new season, then it's all right. Says the Gemara, the both dash in the same pasuk. It says Chag HaOsif Kufa's Hashana. It says in the pasuk that Chag HaOsif, the time of gathering, is Kufa's Hashana, should be the new season. Mar Sava Kul Chag Bin. You need the entire Chalamoid, the time that you can physically gather, a bit Kufa Chadasha in the new season, which is Rabbi Yehuda. That's why he says you need the first day Chalamoid already to be part of full. But Kufa Chadasha, and the basic says no. That as long as one day of Chalamoid is part of the new season, is good enough. So if the 21st day starts the season of fall, it's good enough. Micah Sabri, the Gemara then concludes, so what do they hold? If the first day of the season is actually part of the previous season, then neither of them work out. Because if the new season falls out the first day of Chalamoid, that's still part of the summer. It's no good. And if the new season falls out on the last day of Chalamoid, that's part of the summer. Also, is no good. So El Kasari, you must conclude that Yom Tkufa Maschel. That according to Shmuel, both Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi hold that the new season day, the first day of the new season, is actually part of the new season. And we're going to have a problem with what Shmuel said for two accounts. And we're going to bring up Raisa. It's going to bring a number of opinions. The Gemara will explain each opinion. Make will ask a question. It says, but Raisa, first of all, clearly, Yom Tkufa Goymed Div Rabbi Yehuda. You just said Rabbi Yehuda said that the first day of the season is part of the new season. It said Rabbi Yehuda clearly says the first day of the season is part of the last season, the previous season. So the first day of Chalamoid is the new season that's still no good because it's part of the summer. So that contradicts what Shmuel said. And Rabbi Yossi says Yom Kufa Maschel that the first day of the season is the new season. That's question number one. Furthermore, you said that according to Rabbi Yehuda, as long as that you need entire Chalamoid to be part of the new season. But that's not what the Brisa says. What does the Brisa say? It says, Eima Abrines Hashana, you don't make a leap year, unless the season was missing the majority of the Chodesh. The Kama Ruba Shal Chodesh, Shisha Sayem. So Tanakama says that if the first day of Chalamoid is part of the summer, it's a problem. But if the first day of Chalamoid is part of the winter, no problem at all. That's what it seems to be saying. Rabbi Yehuda says something totally different, not like Shmuel. He says, "Shtei yodas b'chodesh, 2/3 of the month. If 2/3 of the month are part of the old season, is a problem. He says to have just 2/3 of the month, 20 days. We need at the 21st day. We need at least one day of Chalamoid. Now, according to Rabbi Yehuda, the first day of the season being the 21st day is still not good enough because he holds the first day of the season as part of the previous month. So he holds that if 20 days of the month, that means the penultimate day of Chalamoid, is part of the last season, is a problem because even though the following day, the last day of Chalamoid is the new season, Rabbi Yehuda holds that the new season is the first day of the new season is really part of the old season. So he needs to have 2 days, the last 2 days of Chalamoid. The first day, the penultimate day is the first day of the new season, which really is the last season. And then you have 1 day of Chalamoid properly. Totally different than what Shmuel said. Rabbi Yossi says, Mechashvin Shisha also lifnei Pesach. Rabbi Yossi says, no, we calculate 16 days before Pesach. If you have 16 days before Pesach of the winter season, then Ma'abri will make a leap year because if you have 60 days before Pesach, you count 91.25 days, you'll find that the new season falls out on the 22nd day of Tishrei, which is past the old Chalamoid. That's no good. But Shisha also leap, so therefore, but if it's 15 days of Nisan, then it will fall out so the new season falls out on the 21st day, means the last day of Chalamoid, perfect, like he said before on top of the page. But then he says, on Sukkot, what about Sukkot itself? Shisha also, listen to 16 days before Sukkot, you don't have to be mother. But L'chayda, it's a problem, because he said before that even 19 days before Sukkot, even 20 days, as long as 1 day Chalamoid, why does he seem to be saying only 1 day Chalamoid, we don't mind? The Gemara will explain. He didn't really mean that strictly. Then what is another opinion? Rav Shimon says, Av Shisha also lifnei Chag ma'abed. Shimon says that even 16 days before Yom, 16 days out of Tishrei on the old season, then it's a problem because we need the entire Chalamoid to be part of the new season, which Rav Shimon sounds exactly like Tanakam. The Gemara will explain that. That it's the minimum day. He says over here that if 14 days, you need if 14 days of Tishrei, if fall out the old season, we already have a problem. And the Gemara will explain with the view of the Chedim. Like we'll see later that according to one opinion, they need the entire sukkah to be part of the new season. Says the Gemara, Kashis. We repudiate what Shmuel said. Let's analyze it. Rabbi Yehuda that you have 2/3 b'chodesh estimate 20 days. Rabbi Yossi says mechashvin shishi also you have Pesach. You calculate 60 days before Pesach. Ma'abed 60 days in Nisan is from the winter. Then you have to make an ma'abed because why? Because the 22nd day of Tishrei will come out the winter, and that's a problem. We need that the 21st day of Tishrei should be the winter. The Chayra Hainu Rabbi Yehuda, isn't that the same thing? Rabbi Yehuda says you need the entire Chalamoid. Rabbi Yehuda says you need the entire Chalamoid to be part of the new. You need what do you call it? Rabbi Yehuda says that you need at least 1 day Chalamoid, and Rabbi Yossi says you need at least 1 day Chalamoid. What's the difference? Yom Tkufa Goymer, Yom Tkufa Maschel. According to Rabbi Yehuda, you need that the first day of the new season should be not the last day of Chalamoid, but the penultimate day of Chalamoid. So the last day of Chalamoid, which is the second day of the new season, and that really technically is the first day. And according to Rabbi Yossi says that no, Rabbi Yossi said that Yom Kufa Maskil, like we said before on top of the page, and therefore, if the first day of the new season of the fall is on the Lazi Chalmoid, that's good enough. That's the difference. You said before, Rabbi Yossi came along and said, 16 days in Sukkot, you're not ma'aber. But we don't care if the first day of Chalamoid is not part of Sukkot. It's part of the summer. Sounds like, but if the second day is part of the summer, it's a problem. But why? But Rabbi Yossi holds that even if the second, third, and fourth day, as long as one day of Chalamoid is part of the fall, is good enough. But the same day you do make either, he holds that as long as one day Chalamoid is part of the new season, is good enough. If 16 days in Nisan, which means that the Pesach, if the new season in the Tishrei falls on the 22nd, that's a problem. But if it falls on the 21st, which is the last day of Chalamoid, it's not a problem. You're right. You're right. Makes no difference. But why did you say 16 days in Tishrei? Should have said 21 days. But I did because in the beginning it says Shisha us when it talks about Pesach, it says 16. That's why he says 16 here as well. Rav Shimon says, Av Shisha Osef Chag Ma'abri and Hantanakamba. They both say that you need the entire Chalamoid part of the fall season. So what's the difference on the Kamba Rav Shimon? There's a difference, but we don't know who says what. Ika Benayu, there is a difference. Yom Tkufa Maschil, Yom Tkufa Geimer. We need the fall season, but do we need the fall season to be the first day of Chalamoid because Yom Tkufa is the beginning of the new season? Or do we need the fall season to begin the first day Yom Tov because the first day of Chalamoid, the first day of the new season does not count as the new season, but rather the old season. So that's a difference. But we don't know who says what. Then we had to give the Achedim, they say that even 14 days, the Achedim said that even 14 days as well, you have to make even if the winter season reaches the 40th day, we already have to make a leap year. The Kama Miyutai, how many days are we talking about? 14 days. That means and right now the Gemara assumes we need only Chalamoid. So we don't understand why if 14 days, which is Erev Yom Tov, so even if the first day of Yom Tov, let's say, is the new Tkufa, and even if you hold Yom Kufa Goimer, that you hold the first day of the new season is really part of the old season, but the first day of Chalamoid is the new season, definitely. So what's the problem? Microsoft, Yom Kufa Goimer, you have it, if he holds that Yom Kufa it concludes, and you have the entire Chalamoid, what's the problem? So we're going to have two explanations. So first, Amr, you think they're talking about Tishrei? No, they're talking about Nis. The Chsiv, it says, and they have a whole new approach to this. They say, Shmoir as Chodesh Aviv. Make sure that Nisan Pesach falls out on spring. And we say Chodesh, which also means the moon is growing. So we need that the spring should happen sometime in the first 14 days. The 14 days, the last day the moon is growing. So that's why if it's 14 days into Nisan winter, we have a problem. We need the 14th day to be part of the spring season because of Shmoir Chodesh Aviv. They're not talking about Tishrei at all. If all we have a problem is one day, why then make a whole leap month? Just make other 2 days, make other 30-day month. So therefore, then it'll push from the 14th to the 15th, and we don't have to make a whole extra month. Because you're right. But when he says 14 days, it doesn't mean you thought you're talking from Aleph to Yudalit. No, we're talking about from the end of the month going downwards. This is what he says. Until those 15 days, if 14 days of the month are from the new season, then we have a problem. 15 days of the month of the new season, not a problem. Why? Even though you need the new season to fall out on the 14th day, we'll add one day to other, and that's enough. But if it's 14 days in the month of this, and that's a new season, that means you have 16 days. Even if you add a day to the month of other, you're still one day short. Ravina says, no, we're talking about Tishrei. Hold It's not enough to have Cholamoid. The entire Sukkot, Chag Asif, some Sukkot is called Chag Asif. So the entire Sukkot has to be part of the new season. And they hold the Yom Tov Rishon, the Yom Tov Rishon. So Gemara says Yom Tov Rishon Chag Asif Ksiv. It says Chag Asif, the time of gathering. Chag Habab is Malasif. It doesn't mean physically you have to gather. It means that the Yom Tov that falls out at the time when you normally gather. So they need the entire Sukkot, and they the season. First day of the season is part of the previous lot, and therefore if it's 14 days in Tishrei is part of the summer, then we have a problem because the Yom Kippur starts on the first day Yom Tov, but that's part of the summer. It goes backwards. So therefore, you need 13. You need to add a month. So what we learned. Now, as it says in the Mishnah, Smichas Kainim. So that ends the sugya of Ibur Shana and Ibur Chodesh. Smichas Kainim is that we have to lean on the Torah. When you bring a pad helam davash of tzibur, a communal pad, because everyone's in an aveda together, but learning Sefer Hadi is all about that concept. So smichas kain, you need this kainim to lean on it. How many kainim do you need? Torah we learned. It says in Pasuk with some ziknei that you want that the elders of the Eidah to place the hands on the head of the par before Hashem. So we learn out the some they shall place the hands ziknei the elders. So first we say Yochel Zikna Shuk. I would have thought elders in the street. Machlekes is showing exactly what that means. According to Rashi, we know we need Sanhedrin, but I would have thought and Mumchit. But I would have thought you don't need the big Sanhedrin. Others say that it means we would have thought even ordinary people. Tamaloim, but Eidah has to be from the Sanhedrin. In Eidah Yochel Tani Eidah from the small Sanhedrin. Tamaloim, but Ha Eidah. This has to be done by the Supreme Court, by the main chief Sanhedrin, which is the Sanhedrin of 71. So out of that group, how many should be there? The Samchu Ishnayim, Ziknei Ishnayim. Suppose there's Samchu Ziknei, plural. Samchu they shall place, that's two. Ziknei the elders, that's another two. The Ein Bezin Shakol, and since Bezin is not equal, my Sifin Alechi have to add one more. Hadikan Chamisha 5, there be with it. Very difficult to understand. There's no din Torah over here. Why do you need an odd number? Why do you need an odd number? The whole reason why you need an odd number is Ein Bezin Shakol is in case it's an argument, you have 2 against 2, so you need an odd number. But there's no argument here. It's just a question of leaning the hands. Unless there's a possibility that an argument might arise, what happens is a mum, they notice a mum. Is this considered a transient mum or a permanent mum? And therefore, because it could turn into an argument, we want an odd number. That's the view that Rabbi Yehuda. Shimon says Ziknei Shnaim. All you have is 3 people because Ziknei is 2. And Bezin Shakol and Bezin needs an odd number, so you have 3. What does he do with the word Samchu and they should place? How do you translate it? But if Shimon says Samchu they should place, we need to have the Samchu for itself to tell you what they should do with the hands. They should place it on top of the head of the animal. But Rabbi Yehuda, how can you use the Samchu teach you how many judges? What about teaching us to place the hands on top of the head of the bull? Rabbi Yehuda, you don't need it. But in Cain, because if so, if the samchu is not there for the Rasha, just to tell you to place the hands, let it just continue the pasuk the way it's written right now and omit the word v'samchu and say the following: Zikne Eida Yidei Maresha Par, the Zikne Eida should put the hands on the Resha Par, and it's good enough. Why do I have the Samchu? It's superfluous to teach you that you need an additional 2 judges. So Samchu is 2, Zikne is 2, and then an odd number we have to have 5. But Reb Shimon, it's a good point what Reb Yehuda says. Why does he need the Samchu? I mean, I would have thought if he wouldn't have said the Samchu, I would have thought they could place the hands next to the head. My al b'samach alongside the head. We say you have to place it above the head. But Rabbi Yehuda Gombar, he says, no, I have a Gzer Shava, Roish. It says over here, you should place your head al Roish apart. And it says by Oila, it says also over there, Roish. And because over there it says by an Oila, and we know that over there, that you place on top of the head. So the same thing over here, you place it on top of the head. No, so Rab Shimon remember, Gzer Shava, something you have to hear from your Rebbe. You can't make a Gzer Shava. He never heard of Gzer Shava. Therefore, he needs Samchu to tell you to place it on the head directly. Tony, we learned Smicha. Smichas Kainin. There's 2 kinds of smicha. There's the smichas Kainin you place on top of the head of the animal, and then the smicha you give smicha to the rabbis. Big Gimel. So you might want to know my smicha and my smichas Kainin. When you give smicha to elders, that's and you call them Rebbe. When you call them Rebbe, according to the Rambam, not only you call them Rebbe, but you also say, and you have now Rishus to Paskin, that's all part of the smicha. Now, interesting, the Rambam writes over here in Pirish Mishnayos on this Mishnah that if all the Eden collectively in Eretz Yisrael to decide that these people should have smicha. We know smicha is a direct line back to Moshe Rabbeinu. Then when Eden were expelled from Eretz Yisrael, the smicha stopped. So the Rambam writes in Pirish Mishnayos here. He also writes in B'chayis that if all the Eden get together, in B'chayis he writes more, if 10 Eden get together, and they decide that this person should have smicha, it's as if they have the power from Moshe Rabbeinu to give them smicha. And then in the Rambam itself, Sanhedrin, there he brings down the same thing. Then he says even a Yochid Mumcha can give smicha, and he concludes, "V'hadavar hazeh tzarich hechra." You still need to work this out if it's correct. There was a big machlekes in Mari Beirav and Malbach. What the Rambam meant with those last words about Dover Tzarech Hecha. According to Mari Beirav, it's referring to the idea of whether a single person, a mumche, can give smicha, but not to the general idea that if the Eden get together and decide to give someone smicha, it's good enough. The Malbach, who was then the Rav in Shalim, was very upset to Mari Beirav, who gave smicha to Beth Yosef and to others, and he did that in order to save all those Eden who escaped the Holocaust and who had to eat chametz on Pesach fast and eat on Yom Kippur. So he wanted to give them malchus in the place of karas, and he needed a peasant to administer that. So he gave himself smicha. He said that the Rambam said he's not the Rambam himself is uncertain whether you can paskin what he said. Interesting is that we have 71 people over here, but in the times of Anshe Knesset Gdolah, we had 120. Where did 120 come from when you have to have 70? It seems that they understood that the Rambam is that every single possible person who can have smicha should get smicha, and otherwise there'll be a whole amachlekes, and therefore there were 120 people who were capable at that time. That's why they gave it to 120, maybe. How do you know that you need 3 people to give smicha, this kind of smicha? How do you know? It says by Yismach Yod of Allah Moshe Rabbeinu places a hand on Yeshua. Moshe Rabbeinu was alone. The Chitema Moshe Moshe Rabbeinu represents the entire Sanhedrin of 71. Then we should have 71. Why only 3? Kasha, we remain with the question. We don't have an answer, but the halacha still remains. You need 3 people. You have to actually place your hands on the head of the student who received smicha. Yes, you don't have to place your hand, but you give him smicha by calling his name. You call him Rebbe. The and it sounds like you also have to give him part of the smicha is not only you call him Rebbe, and not the pshat is that the Gemara is saying that Rebbe, machlek is whether you actually have to say these words or you just explain what Rebbe means. And the and you say you have not permission. The maiden dine knosses to rule on dine knosses. What do you mean dine knosses? What everything else? So Rashi already explains it. When it comes to being a judge to the commercial law, we have the Gemara in Gittin anan tzapecheste anan shlichus sayav dinen. We are agents of the Bezdin of Eretz Yisrael. In Babel, they were agents of the Bezdin of Eretz Yisrael, and today we are agents of the Bezdin of Eretz Yisrael when it comes to matters which are common and involves a loss. When it comes to Gzeil Chavilas, there's a loss as well. So we are agents. But when it comes to knossos, because it's not so common, it's pretty rare, and there's no real loss, it's something extra over and above, therefore we are not shluchim. And that's why you need special smicha to be able to judge knossos. The whole discussion, the first in the Sivis and Siman Aleph of Chesh Mishpat, and the Rashba and the Chesed Gittin, as to Gittin, what basis does a Bezdin have today to accept Gerim, not Gittin, but Gerim? And whether it's only Midrabanan, or whether it's actually Mahat Torah. It's a very interesting discussion. Telling more further, the Chad Loy Samach, are you telling me that an individual cannot give smicha? Let me ask a question. The Ram, we should remember this person in a good way. Interesting. We have this concept Oisei Ish L'Toy. We have it here. We have Shuma Gamla and other places, and then we have the Zelu Umazeh. We have Oisei Ish for some terrible Rishoyim, as he had in Margitin in times of Titus and so on. Oisei Zochotosh. Remember, Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba Shmai. Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba were one of those people that we learned yesterday. They wanted to declare that he was equal to Moshe Rabbeinu, but they didn't. They couldn't make that hesped. Hay Chosid Hayonah. Ilmolu, not for him. Nishtachu dine knossim Yisrael. They would have forgotten all the laws of penalties in Eden. So they wanted nishtachu. What do you forgot? They're going to sit and learn it. Elabaklu dine knossis. Now, what exactly Gemara's question is learn it? And in those days, they didn't write things down. Everything was done by memory, and if he was the only one who remembered, so what do you mean learn it? Maybe he was the only one who knew the laws of dine knossis. Not sure. But the Dine Knossos Yisrael would have been cancelled. The Dine Knossos, why? Could there be no smicha? And in order to do Knossos, you need smicha. The other things we say Anan Shlichus Hayavdin were agents from the previous bezins. What happened was Pamachas once Gozra Malchus Ashor Gzeira Yisrael. Once there was a Gzeira on the Yidden Shekol HaSoymich Yeharig. Anybody gives smicha will get killed. They knew that education and learning is our is our lifeline. Kehem chayenu. So they wanted to stop it. So they said anybody who gets smicha will be killed. And furthermore, and also the recipient of that smicha should get killed. And furthermore, the any city that hosts such a event will be destroyed. And tchum not only in the city, even if you do it outside the city, but within the tchum, within the 2,000 kilometer, within the kilometer limit, is Ya'akru 2,000 mil. Ya'akru should be completely eradicated. Is Ma'asa Yehuda ben Baba. What did he do? Holach, he went to Yashalai ben Shnei Harim Doilim. He sat between two mountains, ben Shnei Harim between two cities, or ben Shnei Tchumi Shabbos between two Tchumi Shabbos. In other words, he made sure he was not near any city, so nobody can be blamed. Ubein Ushal Sheparim between the cities of Usha Sheparim, because we know that the 10 Goliaths and Sanhedrin went to Usha Parim, went back to Usha later again. The Samach Sham Chamishas Kenim, and he gave smicha to 5 elders. These are they: Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Elazar, Shmuel, Rabbi Abya Moshe, also Rabbi Nechemia. Kivan Shekiru Evei, when the enemy somehow found out, somebody informed perhaps, Amalan, he said, Bonai, Rutsu, he told them, flee. Amalei Rebbe Mate Lecha, what about you? Amalan, Hareini Mutulif Name Ke'evan Shein Lahavchi. I can't move anymore. I am too old, and I'm staying right here. I'm staying put, and this way you guys can escape, and I'll suffer the consequences. They didn't move from there. They didn't move from there until they took a spear and they stabbed him 300 times, and he became a became like a sin. There's a beautiful Sefer Chassidus that tells a story about two Talmidei Chacham. There was a city that they were trying to find all the Yidden or all the people who were learning to kill them, and there were two people hiding. And they had a debate. One of them said, I'm going to come outside, let them kill me, and I'll die a Kiddush Hashem. And the other one said, you have no right to go out there just to die a Kiddush Hashem. We have to try to do everything we can to hide. If we have to die a Kiddush Hashem, so be it, but we have to hide. And the question is from here, Rabbi ben Baba. He went and he brazenly defied their rules. Now, the question is, if the law is to give smicha, you don't have to have them present in front of you. They can be anywhere next to Israel. He could have given them smicha, yet he wanted them to be there with him. Why is that? Did he want to make a Kiddush Hashem and he wanted them to see what a Kiddush Hashem is? Or he thought that he can avoid capture and he tried to do it as discreet as possible? So it's not so clear from here. Then he want to continue. So one proof made that he alone single-handedly gave him smicha. So you see that one judge, one rav can give smicha. Says the Gemara, he had others with him. Why didn't he count them? We actually learned before the Gemara, one of the reasons why he gives smicha is to train them how to give a very clear answer, not to be cryptic or ambiguous, because people can make mistakes based on that. But Meir, I ask a question. Meir, you're telling me in this story, and we'll conclude with the story. Meir, Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba gave him smicha, but Rabbi Kiva gave him smicha. Says the Gemara, you're right. Samche Rabbi Kiva gave him smicha, like kiblu, but it was not accepted. Samche Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba, the kiblu accepted. Now this is very difficult to understand. Rabbi Kiva gave smicha to Rabbi Meir. What do you mean it wasn't accepted? How can people say we don't accept Rabbi Kiva's smicha? So Rashi says he was a bocher. And we learn from here that if you're under 18 years old, you cannot be smicha. When it comes to a rav, it says in Shulchan Aruch Yeridea, you have to be 40 years old before you can be a rav. But when it comes to be a dayan, or at least to get smicha, it says here that you have to be at least 18 years old. That's why that Meir was not accepted, because he was under 18. And we'll see more in the Gemara at the end of this Pedic about others who didn't get smicha as well, and therefore they didn't have the titles. Okay, we'll stop here. We'll continue tomorrow in Mitzvah Hashem.